conversation, I'm going to get one of my favorite people in Bali. And now I'm going to read a little bit from the resume because she's crazy. She's British. She was born in Kenya. She's run with the Masai. She's really run with the Masai. She came to Bali, and she's going to tell you the story. But she was a designer, turned out to be a retail consultant for Four Seasons and their stores all over Indonesia, Maldives, India, Malaysia, Thailand. She is a Kenyan tennis champion. She has climbed many mountains, Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro, base camp, Annapurna base camp in Nepal. And she now, oh, by the way, she's also done about 500 dives all over Indonesia. And now she has her own practice, which is called divine meddling, because she is very spiritually connected to Bali. And she and her husband, Peter Decker, whom I adore, they created the Living Light residential community in Siam, where I lived for 5 years when I first came to Bali. And I heard all her stories as if there was a fire pit. And, you know, I came brokenhearted and blah, blah. We all have those stories. And she told me these stories about, you know, Bali of those days, what was happening, and why. But I'm loud enough. Hi. Oh, it's back. So she reignited my joy of storytelling. To come to a country feeling desperately alone, and to have someone tell you stories about Bali, the Bali that we don't even know anymore. It reframed my understanding not only of Bali, but of Indonesia as a country. So I'm not going to take too much time babbling about myself, and I want to invite Jane Hawkins, my very dear friend, a storyteller. Hope it works.
Hello, everybody. Hi, hi.
Okay, so Jane, this is a free flow conversation. We have many versions of how we are going to do interviews. And this is, like, as I said, we are recreating like a fire pit, fireside talk. So it's casual. And I want you, because you've told me these stories, and I am always fascinated every time someone says, "What do you know about Bali?" What do you know about Bali and the stories, or Indonesia and the stories? She comes to mind. So you followed an Ikat. By the way, she's a Studio 54 chick from New York, okay? And she was in SOHO and she sees an Ikat. Now I will leave the story to her.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry. I can't see your eyes because the light is so bright here. And in Indonesia, we always like to connect with the eyes. As you all know, it's amazing how we connect through the eyes. But so I was born in Kenya and I moved to New York when I was in my early 20s. And I was in a shop selling my jewelry, which I was designing at that time, living in New York. And I saw a man come by with a piece of fabric over his shoulder. And the tuxu, we call that tuxu. I mean, many of you will know what tuxu is, which is energy. The energy of that fabric was so strong that I was just drawn to it. So I ran after him and tapped him on the shoulder. He probably thought I was coming after him for other reasons apart from fabric, but actually it was fabric. And I sat him down in a cafe and I asked him where it was from, and he told me it was from Bali. And nobody in those days in New York had any idea where Bali was. So 2 weeks later, I went to the travel agent And I got on a plane and I flew to Bali looking for that fabric. And I did indeed find it.
And how long have you been here?
I've been here for 50 years. 50 years. And as my new friend over here, Uni, the dancer, she said to me, "Oh, you must have been born here. Only a Balinese could be so polite and kind." No, I wasn't born here, but I came very early in my life. So there we are.
So-
50 years.
So, Jane, again, these are stories I've already heard, and I repeat again and again when I have to say, what's the magic of travel, the joy of adventure? And you are a big example for me personally. So she talks about, and she's going to tell you in person, when there was nothing around Petitenge Temple. Like you had a tiny little shack and you had to walk on the beach and tell everyone the things that you saw. And you got to believe it, guys, because it doesn't get more real than this.
So I came to Bali. I landed on a small plane from Jakarta and was met by the Bali boys who were known to pick up girls and take them around.
The
And
Kuta
they-
cowboys.
The Kuta cowboys, of course, you know, we all did that. And so I decided to live in Putatingat, which in Balinese it means magic box, and now has become, you know, everybody knows where Petatingat is now. And everybody said to me, "Are you crazy? Why are you living in Petatingat? Nobody goes to live in Petatingat." So, but I decided to live in Petatingat. And we had no roads, no cars, a motorcycle every now and again, and we used to go home on the beach or through the rice fields on bicycles. Dayung, Spedamoto Dayung. This was the only way to go. We would walk to Legian to go to party, you know, at least half an hour. And the magic in Putatinga was incredible. I mean, Bali has become so concretized now that it's hard to find the magic anymore. But there is still magic to be found. And I
Tell us what you
invite
saw.
Yeah. So one day, I mean, I saw so many magical things in Putatinga, but I'll just tell you one story because there's only time for that. Coming out of the major temple in Putatinga, coming down the steps, we were a group of 5 people, and we all ran down the stairs like as if something was after us. And we got to the bottom, and it felt as if there was a big black bird on our shoulders. And we were all terrified and like, how are we going to, you know, but all of us saw it and all of us felt it. And then across the sky came probably 5 or 6 traditionally priests dressed in Balinese garb, floating through the air across in front of us, giving us all the support to know that this evil black bird wasn't actually going to attack us. So, I mean, there isn't that much anymore of that magic in Bali, unfortunately, but I suggest to you all that be open to it and find it because it's still here.
What about the big ball of fire that...
Oh, that was another night. I was coming home from a party with my girlfriend. We were walking along the beach and from Legian, and we looked up to the temple in front of Putatingat, and there was a man standing with arms outstretched like this, and he had 2 huge balls of green luminous light in his hands and a top hat. So I thought to myself, this must be something to do with me being British. I have to have a top hat in my life somehow. So I said to my girlfriend, just keep walking, don't look at him. And we kept walking, and we went to the priest the next day in the temple, and we said to him, what was that? And he said, oh, that's definitely people practicing black magic in order to shapeshift and become something else that you don't know what it is. And I have to say, I've seen a lot of shapeshifting in all the years I've lived here. Yeah.
And is that the reason why, like, I've met your beautiful, wonderful Padanta, and you have such an amazing spiritual connection with Bali. And after all these years, tell us about your spiritual affiliation to Bali. That is one of the biggest joys of your life. I know that for a fact.
Well, I think it's always been quite difficult for me. I don't know if everybody else has that same feeling, to actually connect to Balinese on a social level, because they're quite shy and they don't really feel comfortable in letting you into their lives. So the way that I've always connected with Balinese is through spirit. And I was lucky enough to meet the most amazing Padanda, the Ratu Padanda Made Gunung, who has sadly passed now. But he was really the top Padanda, the top priest in Bali, and drew so many of the Balinese through this difficult period of having to connect with tourists and live a very expensive life, which they've never had to deal with before. And it's really through spirit that I have managed to connect with Balinese and have become my social connection to them. So I encourage you all to do that, because it's the best way to be friendly with the Balinese. Yeah.
And on that note, Jane, my darling, thank you for your stories. And we do take away being connected through spirit, not consumerism, not selfishness. And would we say we are Tamu? We're the guests. We're the guests in this country. And I think we owe it to the people who live here in the entire country to live with respect and understand the spirit of the place. Yeah.
Yeah. And it opens up so many doors to connect with the energy of Bali, rather than the commercialism or the tourism or the difficulties. So let's just be in touch with energy.